Okay, so in this video we're going to be taking a look at how to create these epic clouds in Fusion. So there is a few prerequisites that our scene needs. First of all, it's a 3D scene that helps our renderer 3D to produce the world position coordinates that our VolumeFog node will use to essentially drive the VolumeFog effects down the road. Let's just set up that really quick. So shift space, shape 3D, like so. And just view that in the left viewer. And if you go in under shape here, just change that to a sphere. Now we want this sphere to essentially contain our entire scene. So let's just go ahead and type in maybe like 100 in the radius setting, like so. And now our sphere is essentially covering the entirety of our scene. You can zoom out really far and you can actually see how big it is. And then what we need is a merge 3D, and we need a camera 3D. View that merge, and then we can move that camera on the Z-axis just so that we are seeing essentially more of our shot, essentially. And then we need a render 3D. Now, if we view this, our shot will be entirely white, and that's because the material of the sphere is white, and we have disabled lighting. So the easiest way to fix this is simply just to add in whatever texture you want the background to be, whether it's a HDRI of a sky. I just imported this HDRI here. So piping that into the sphere would essentially fix the white background. So that would be one way to do it. But if you want, say, a transparent background, if you're doing motion graphics and you don't want the sky in the back, what you need to do is essentially go into the material and lower the opacity all the way. However, there is one thing you need to remember when you're doing this, and that is that for the fog to work, you essentially need the renderer 3D node to have the output channel's world position enabled. And now, as the shape 3D is essentially invisible, you can see if we go into the color channels here, in the positions, it's completely black. And as soon as you drag the opacity back up again, you can see we are getting these colors, and this is what we want. This is the right output of the channels. So if you want the opacity to be at 0 and the world position channel to be enabled, to get around that, in the controls tab of the shape, go in under visibility, and then this checkbox here, suppress aux channels for transparent pixels, just disable that. There you go. You can see we have our world position pass back. And if you click up here, you can also see our background is transparent. Just for demonstrative purposes, let's just add a VolumeFog node and also pipe the merge into the pink input of the VolumeFog. Now you can see we have let me just make a few adjustments like this. Now you can see we have a volume on a transparent background. And if you want to pipe the sky into it, just go into the material and increase the opacity again. You can see we also have a volume in front of the sky. And I think I prefer the sky, so I'm going to go with that for now. So now we have our basic 3D scene set up, and we have a very rough draft of something of a volume. Let me just click this button in the middle there to reset it. So let's start by setting up our volume. So essentially change the shape from cube to sphere. And then if we just scale the sphere up a bit, we're going to increase the soft edge to something like that so that the hard edge disappears. 0.157 is good. And then we can go ahead and scale the volume to be the same size as this sphere, which is the radius of 100. If we come into the noise tab here, increase the detail slider all the way, and then we can come in under noise scale, and we can reduce the size of the noise quite a bit to see some quick effects here. If we just lower the brightness, you can see we are getting some clouds, but they do look a lot like just regular fast noise, and we wanted to have more dimension than that. So what we're going to do, put the scale to somewhere like halfway, so 0.5 is good. If we come into the light panel and we enable do lighting, you can see the volume went dark. But if we now go and add an ambient light and a directional light, we'll pipe these into the merge 3D just real quick. You can see the volume is being affected by lights. And what I like to do is I like to take the directional light and point it somewhere towards the camera a little bit so that we just get the backlight effect. You know what? Actually, we are going to be increasing the radius of our sphere to, say, 200. And then we can take the camera, pull the camera back even further. We can rotate the x-axis up a bit so that we can see the top a little better. This texture here is filled with clouds, so it's kind of ruining the point of our clouds. So just to see the clouds we're working with a little better, just add in a day sky node and just pipe that in, just so that you get a solid bright blue version. I'm just going to delete that texture for now. And also one thing we can do is that we can add in a transform 3D node after our camera. And if we have that one selected, if you come into the rotation and you rotate on the y-axis, you can essentially rotate around to find a piece of the clouds you like the best. And you also get some nice parallax going on. But let's keep rotating it upwards a little bit and maybe even move it up. Let's just point this a bit more upwards. Then we can actually lower the camera, move it back a bit more. Okay, and if we rotate this again, something like that. Okay, now come into the VolumeFog. We're going to make some adjustments to the lighting itself. So let's go ahead and increase the density of our clouds. Increase the density to 2.5-ish. And we can increase the transmission a bit. We can play around with the transmission, something like that. Now let's go ahead and just view our day sky. And then in the VolumeFog, in the emission, just eyedrop somewhere here, just so that I get a nice blue background. This is just to get a bit of a, add a bit of a color to our clouds, just so that they match the scene a little bit better. So maybe something like that. And now let's just keep rotating around the scene till we find a nice piece of clouds that we like. It's really nice to have this effect here. You can do some pretty cool stuff with it. Let's also just go a bit further up to the top. There you can see we are reaching the edge of our volume. So let's keep that in there. And if you are unhappy with the scale of your clouds, you can always just go back and change the size of your noise texture. You can also increase the quality of the clouds by increasing the samples to 32, make them look a little bit nicer. And the really neat thing about VolumeFogs is the power to combine multiple volumes. So you could just add a VolumeFog node after this one. Let's also just pipe in the pink one like so. Adjust the seed slider, which is essentially a random seed button. And you can also lower the scale. But now you can see the original clouds that we had are kind of disappearing behind this. And this is because we are essentially just adding this on top of. So instead, what you could do is that you can repipe the render 3D into the second volume that we created. And then if you create a merge, then come into the first volume that we created, and you can choose fog only. And then we can pipe that on top of the first volume fog. So there's a lot of powerful things you can do with these volumes here. But now you essentially have a pretty decent cloud scene. If you wanted to throw a CG plane in there, you could. So yeah, that's how you can quickly create some volumetric clouds within Fusion. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.